Hi everyone! Today, we're going to dive into the model of a neuron, which is the fundamental building block of neural networks. Don't worry if you're new to this. I'll explain it step by step in a way anyone can understand. Let's begin by looking at this simple diagram of a neuron model. First, we have the input signals, labeled as x1, x2, x3, dots, xm. These are the starting points, like pieces of information coming into the neuron. For example, if we're trying to predict the weather, these could represent temperature, humidity, and wind speed. Next, each input has something called a weight, represented by wk1, wk2, dots, km. Think of weights as importance factors. If an input is more critical, its weight will be larger. So if temperature is the most important factor, its weight will have a higher value. Once the inputs are multiplied by their weights, they are sent to the summing junction, where all the weighted inputs are added together. This gives us a single value, UK, which is the combined signal strength. The formula here sums up all the weighted inputs like this. It's like adding all the ingredients of a recipe into one bowl. Now, there's an extra adjustment called the bias, labeled as BK. This bias helps fine-tune the neuron's decision. Think of it as adding a pinch of seasoning to your recipe to make it just right. The bias ensures that the neuron isn't overly dependent on the input values. Next, the combined signal, UK plus BK, passes through something called an activation function, labeled here as phi. The activation function acts like a gatekeeper. It decides whether the signal is strong enough to produce an output. For instance, it might turn small signals into zero or keep large signals as they are. This step is what makes the neuron behave in a way that mimics decision-making. Finally, after the activation function, the neuron produces an output labeled as YK. This output can either be sent to the next neuron in the network or used as a final decision. For example, in predicting the weather, the output could be something like, "It's going to rain." To make this even simpler, imagine you're deciding whether to go on a picnic. The inputs are your factors: the weather, your mood, and how much free time you have. The weights tell you how important each factor is. Maybe weather matters a lot, but your mood doesn't matter as much. The summing junction combines these factors into one score. The bias could be something like, even if the weather isn't perfect, I might still go. The activation function sets the rule, like, if the score is above a certain level, I'll decide to go. The output is your final decision, picnic or no picnic. So that's the basic model of a neuron. It might look simple, but combining many of these neurons creates powerful networks capable of amazing things, like recognizing faces, translating languages, and predicting outcomes. That's all for today's session. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next lecture.